Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Mists of Pandaria preview, and this time we're going to be having a look at the heroic version of Mogu'Shan Vaults. And the first boss in this encounter is going to be Trial of the King. When you enter the arena, there's going to be a short RP session between the king himself and the 3 Mogu leaders around him. Don't worry about the small ass, it's just here to watch. After the RP session ends, you're going to be faced against the 3 Mogu'Shan leaders. The first mob you're going to be facing is the Hyan the Unstoppable. Hyan is a fire mage and has a couple of abilities that reflects this. He has Conflagrate, which will disorient a target for roughly about 5 seconds and deal a good amount of fire damage to the target. When the effect ends, Conflagrate is supposed to jump to another target, but currently in the beta the animation and how it works is still not quite in place, so we didn't actually get that working. Meteor is not one of his abilities. He will summon a meteor on a random target player, and that player will take 400k damage after a few seconds, and the best thing you can do is just to group up, split the damage, easy peasy. The third ability is a Traumatic Blow, which he will put on the tank, reducing healing taken by 50%. Not too hard to deal with. After Hyan is defeated, Ming the Cunning will be next, and is a lightning mage. He also has a couple of abilities to reflect this, and the first one is the Whirling Dervish, which is a tornado that will spawn somewhere around the platform. Now, the movement of the tornado is kinda unpredictable, but just be aware of where it's going and where it is to avoid taking damage. Anyone in the path of the tornado will take damage and be knocked back, and the damage is actually quite high. I actually almost killed myself with this. The second ability is a Lightning Bolt, which is interruptible and is his main spell component after melee attacks. An ability we didn't quite get to see is the Magnetic Field, where he will pull all people into a vortex he creates and damage them until they move out. We killed him so fast, however, that he actually didn't get to do it, so that's kind of a shame. But again, beta is beta. After Ming is dead, you'll be faced with Kuai the Brute and his little pet, Mujiba. I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce that. Mujiba is the most important component of this fight because it will randomly target a player and ravage them for 5 seconds. Ravage stuns them and deal a rough amount of damage to them, and it will most oftenly, as far as we could observe, target the healer. So you want to bring down Mujiba as fast as possible. Other than that, Kuai only has one ability besides his melee attack, which is a Shockwave, and it's a deadly one. Shockwave's animation doesn't seem to be quite in place just yet, so it can be kinda hard to determine where it's gonna land, unless you actually keep your eyes peeled on the boss at all times and make sure you see what way he's facing and move out of that way. Of course, Blizzard's little emote system will more often than not actually warn you when Shockwave comes, so it's just about moving out of his line of sight, the little conal vision where he's going to actually throw the Shockwave just before it happens. Other than that, the Trial of the Kings isn't that interesting, but that's mainly I think that's mainly because most of the abilities aren't quite in place yet, and is kind of bugged at the moment. This is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Once all of the 3 kings have been defeated, they will have an RP session, and then a path to the right of the room where it opened will open. Now, the second boss in this instance is Gekkan, and he comes with 4 different ads. The 4 different ads have a major impact on how everything is going to go. Now, while the ads have several abilities that I'm not going to go into detail about, the important one you're going to be focusing on is the Oracle. The Glinthawk Oracle, which is most often to the right of the room of the boss, will throw out Cleansing Flame, healing all the other ads and the boss himself for a good 300k health. Bringing each of the ads down will grant a debuff on the boss himself. It increases the damage they take by 25%, and periodically Gekkan will also throw this out on the mobs themselves because it also breaks crowd control effects and lowers the duration of them. It also increases their haste by 25% for each stack. Therefore, killing the ads will be a priority because the more ads you kill, the more stacks the boss is going to have and the faster he's going to die. With 4 stacks, he's going to have 100% less haste, completely immune to crowd control effects, and he's going to have 100% extra damage taken. So you can see how important it is to bring all the mobs down before you target the boss himself. I do believe, however, there is going to be an achievement to actually kill the boss before the ads, but we'll see how that plays out. Also, as a side note, I just want to point out that maybe you can see this in the video, but at the far wall behind the boss, there's a small Sorok carrying a loot chest. After the boss is dead, you can kill this mob and get a good amount of gold piles, so always do that. This is heroic mode only, though. Last boss we're going to be faced with in Mogu'Shan Palace is Sin the Weapon Master, and boy, if you thought that Wing Leader Neonok was fun, this is going to be interesting for you. He has several phases and several abilities to take care of, and the first most important one is the ground slam. He will slam the ground in front of him, inflicting a rough amount of damage and decreasing the armor of enemies in a 30-yard cone in front of him by 25%. The only one who has to dodge this is the tank, but it's important to do so. He will also summon these circling whirlwind axes. Boy, can they be annoying. They deal a lot of damage if you just happen to be in front of them, so just try and stay out of them, okay? However, this will be increasingly difficult as the fight goes on, and I'll show you why. Holy crap, blades. At 66% remaining health, Sin will activate blade traps, and the traps will shoot out these spiking blades dealing 40 to 60k damage, and oh my god, do they hurt. Now you gotta dodge the blades and the axes and the staves, which I will get to in a moment. The staves will do circles of flame on the ground, as you can see right here. Stepping into that will deal a lot of damage, so don't do it. And here comes the annoying part. Death from above. Everything included, you will also now have to take 4 or 5k physical damage each second from the random crossbow traps around the room. As if things couldn't get any worse, right? Sin will also use an inciting roar every time he activates an arsenal of his choice, and inflicting another 80k damage every time he activates a trap. Oh my god, can this be frustrating, especially on Heroic. We did seem to have not a huge amount of problems taking it down, but then again, beta's beta. Thanks for watching, guys. My name's been Relaxation, and I'll see you in the mists.